Welcome to EPG Pathshala, my dear students. I am Professor Tyagarajan, the head of the Department of Sanskrit from Presidency College, Chennai. I am going to deal with the paper Indian Aesthetics and Fine Arts, in which the module I am going to present before you is History and Development of Poetics. This we are going to have different segments because there are a lot of authors on poetics. Prior to learning of poetics, we must know in what way it is connected with aesthetics, for which we should have a small understanding about aesthetics. Aesthetics means the beautiful things, whether it is arts or fine arts or literature or anything, wherever you see the beauty, then it becomes aesthetic. Whenever you have an appreciation for that, then it becomes the aesthetic appreciation. So aesthetic means something which is catching your heart. That means the music or the rhythm or anything, even when you are uttering a sloka, if it appeals to your mind and heart, then it is aesthetics. When it is directly connected to poetry, it becomes poetics. For example, वाणीं जितशुकवाणीं अळिकुलवेणीं भवाम्बुधिद्रोणीं वीणाशुकशिशुपाणीं नतगीर्वाणीं नमामि सर्वाणीं. It's a beautiful verse from Kalidasa. Whenever you have some sort of rhythm, automatically it captures your heart. So such writings, whenever it is appreciated, then it becomes the aesthetic appreciation. So in poetry, there were a lot of poetics, and people have been attempting to explain the nature of aesthetics in poetics. Today we are going to know what is meant by poetics. As far as Sanskrit is concerned, poetics means Alankara Shastra. Alankara is decoration, embellishment. Alankriyate iti alankaraha. So that which embellishes is called Alankara or poetics in English. We are going to trace the origin of poetics in this module, and then we are going to find out the divine origin of poetics as stated by Rajashekara, a poet. Then to observe different authors and the gradual development of poetics also. Now, we will have a small introduction about Alankara Shastra. The Alankara Shastra is, as I told you, poetics in English. In its wider sense, Alankara means an ornament, embellishment, that which beautifies poetry. In its sense, ordinary sense, it means the figures of speech called Alankara, Sabdalankaras, Arthalankaras. That means Alankara means it is embellishing through sounds and sense. When you are embellishing through sound, it is called Sabdalankara. Embellished through sense, it is called Arthalankara. So Sabdalankaras, whenever you are talking about Sabdalankaras, Anuprasa, Yamaka, these are all Slesha, they are all Sabdalankaras. When you are talking about Arthalankaras, Upama, Rupaka, Vakrokti also is an Alankara, Atishayokti, Deepaka, Kavyalinga. Like that, there are so many Alankaras. That means different way of expression to capture the heart of the readers. So, Alankaras are the main important factor as far as the poetry is concerned. The ordinary expression, when it is embellished, it becomes Alankara, which is in English called figures of speech. Next, we will try to find out the traces of poetics, when it was started, whether there is a record in the ancient days or when actually it was recognized as the Shastra. Of course, you have got words like Upama in the Rigveda, because for all that is Indian, we trace the origin only from the Vedas because that happened to be the ancient texts available for us. So in the Rigveda, we have got the words Upama, Anuprasa, Yamaka. Anuprasa means Padavrittihi, Aksharavrittihi Anuprasa ityuchyate. Whenever a letter is repeated to embellish, then it is called Anuprasa. For example, it is a popular verse, everybody knows, Sri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tatulyam Ramanama Varanane. Sri Rama Rama Ra 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 is repeated, the Akshara Avriti, that is called Shabdalankara. So it is a common example which I have given, and the rhetoricians will give so many examples in their Alankara Shastra. And then Yamaka, the same word is repeated. Pada avritihi yamakam ityuchyate. But there is a significance. The same meaning should not be repeated. Though the two words are repeated, the first one should have a different meaning, the second one should have a different meaning. Umadavaha, Madavaha. So, there may be a sentence, Umadavo, Madavo, where you find Madhava, Madhava, two words similar, but the first one, the second one happen to be having different meanings. When you say Umadava, it refers to the husband of Uma, Parameshwara, Lord Parameshwara. Madhava refers to, that is Vishnu, the husband of Lakshmi. So you have different meaning there. So such words, when used, we call that to be Yamaka or chimes in English. Certain references are found in the ancient texts. For example, Shatapatha Brahmana. It is an expanding text of the Vedas which explains about the rituals of Yajurveda, where you find certain figures of speech used. So also, in the Kathopanishad, you have got instances of Rupaka, and Panini also, who belonged to 4th century BC, has used the words Upamana and Upamita, etc. There are instances galore of the use of several figures of speech in Ramayana and the Mahabharata. We shall see Alankara as a Shastra not traceable in early texts. Why, though we have been talking about the Vedic references with regard to certain words, it is not recognized as a Shastra. In the sense, there is no separate treatise exactly for it. So, it was not mentioned. Why we are telling like that? Because there was no reference to it in the declaration of Shastras in the ancient texts. For example, in Chandogya Upanishad, you have got a list of subjects to be learnt wherein you don't find the reference of Alankara Shastra. So also in Apastamba Dharma Sutra, you have got a lot of vidyas to be learnt, wherein also you don't find a separate nomenclature as Alankara Shastra. Yajnavalkya, the sage who wrote Yajnavalkya Smriti, he is giving a list of 14 Shastras where you don't find Alankara Shastra as one. So also in Vishnu Purana also, which belonged to 6th century AD, where lot of vidyas are discussed, there is no mention of Alankara Shastra. Rajasekhara was a great poet. Of course, he is not a full rhetorician. He has collected so many materials from various sources and he has presented the Kavya Mimamsa, which is partly dealing with poetics also, wherein he is giving the reference to the ancient texts wherein Alankara Shastra is dealt with. Of course, in no other texts except Kavya Mimamsa of Rajasekhara, you find references to the ancient origin of Alankara Shastra. He belonged to 10th century AD, wherein he mentions the divine origin. It is said that the spirit of poetry, Kavya Purusha, he calls it, born of the goddess of learning, Saraswati, being induced by Brahma to spread the study of poetics in 3 worlds. So he related poetics in 18 topics to his 17 will-born pupils, Manasaputras. These divine sages, in their turn, are said to have composed separate treatises on the portions respectively learnt by them. Next, we will find out who are all the persons who have learnt the Shastras, or rather from the will-born Brahma. Thus, according to Rajasekhara, Sahasraksha wrote on Kavi Rahasya, that is the secret of poets, how to write poetry. Now, what is the technique involved in it? Actually, poetics means the technique of writing poetry. Another person by name Ukti Garbha wrote on Auktika, that is the poetic expression. Ukti means expression. Auktika corresponds to the expression. Then Swarnanabha on Riti. Riti means style. Prachetayana on Anuprasa, which we have already discussed about. Then Chitrangada on Yamaka and Chitra on verbal jugglery, in the sense using slesha, making the hair-splitting puns which will be understood only with a tight effort. Then Aupakayana on Upama and Parashara on Atishaya, that is a Atishayokti, hyperbole, and Utatya on Arthaslesha, that is pun with meanings. Kubera on Ubhaya Alankara, both types of Alankaras. Kamadeva on Vainodika, art of enjoyment. Bharata on Rupaka, that is dramaturgy. Here, the students may have some confusion. Rupaka generally means an Alankara also. So, Rupaka refers to dramaturgy also, dramas. So, this distinction you have to make it based on the situation in the text. When Nandikeswara wrote on Rasa, that is the aesthetic expression, and Dishana on Dosha, the defects of the poetry, and then Upamanyu on Guna, that is the poetic excellence, the merits of the poetry, and Kuchamara on Aupanishadika, that is the poetic philosophy. Now we shall see the reliability of the existence of poetics, because Rajasekhara has said these references, but is there any other reference elsewhere? Of course, it is not available for us. But at the same time, how to rely on this? It is a legendary account, but it is unalterable authority where the actual origin is forgotten. Though there is no mention of this account elsewhere in Alankara, they find expression in Bharata, in Vatsyayana, with regard to the origin of the allied disciplines of dramaturgy and erotic respectively. The historical value of this passage of Rajasekhara, of course, is in doubt. But it is possible that this unique account embodies a current tradition, implying the actual existence at some remote and forgotten period of early exponents of poetic theory, some of whose names are still familiar, but most of whose works have apparently perished. The most early reference to Alankara Shastra is found in the text Lalita Vistara, a fairly early Avadana treatise, that is a Buddhist text. It mentions a Kavya Karana Grantha, which means how to create a poetry. So, he has written a book on that. Then you find references in the Shukraniti, which belong to 13th and 14th century AD, according to P.V. Kane, a great exponent in poetics, which appears to be the earliest work to refer to Alankara Shastra among other Shastras. 32 Shastras they mention, in that you find the reference to Alankara Shastra. There are reasons to believe that this Shastra originated much earlier than the 17th century AD. The poeticians Bhamaha, who belonged to 7th and 8th century, and Dandin, 8th century, refer to earlier writers or their views. Both Bhamaha and Dandin presuppose a fairly long period of development of this poetics. Otherwise, it would not have been possible to write such systematic and well thought out treatises. So, it is justifiable to suppose that this poetics as a distinct discipline was considerably developed about the 6th century AD. Had it been so, the poetics must have originated much earlier. See, let us have only the probable date of poetics, because we can't pinpoint which actually the date of poetics. See, in the 4th and 5th centuries in the Gupta regime, there was a renaissance of Sanskrit literature. Kalidasa is generally believed to have belonged to this period. Tanmantri, Chapanaka, Amarasimha, Gatakarpara, Kalidasa, like that you have a reference there. The Navaratnas, 9 gems who adorned the court of King Vikramaditya. Might be that the poetics also flourished in this period of cultural resurgence. Now, from this period onwards, you find the development of Alankara Shastra. When poems and dramas have been written, a need was felt among those who were the composers and the critics of the certain rules, both to guide the novices and to check the form and nature of the compositions. The rules of dramaturgy took precedence over the poems. The figures of speech also were given some importance, as they were intended to maintain and keep up the standard of sentiment. The branch of study came to acquire the name Alankara on account of the importance given to figures of speech. It is also called the branch of Sahitya. Sahitasya bhavaha Sahityam. Sahita refers to what? Shabda and Artha. Shabdartho Sahito Kavyam is the definition. So, because the stress it lays on the inseparable relation between a word and its meaning. Kalidasa too says, Vagartaviva Samprukto, that you cannot separate the meaning from the word. So, the following topics are generally dealt with in the branch of study: the theory and definition of poetry, the annotation of words, and nature and varieties of characters like hero, heroine, and others, sentiment, qualities, blemishes, then dramaturgy and figures of speech. All these things are coming under the purview of Sahitya, which is the broad feature of poetics. Then coming to the first man to just bring out the initiation of Alankara Shastra is Bharata. Bharata's Natya Shastra is very popular. It appears that the earliest extant work available on poetics is Natya Shastra, Bharata Muni, who belonged to 1st century BC. Natya Shastra is an encyclopedic manual on the theatre arts. Almost every aspect of drama and dramatic representation are discussed herein. Composition and the enactment of a play, as well as dramatic appreciation, are dealt with in great detail, and as ancillaries to drama, such subjects as music, dance, etc. are fully discussed. In the same manner, Natya Shastra deals with poetry and poetics theory also. Poetry comes within the scope of Vachika Abhinaya, the drama in Bharata's treatise. These apart, early traces of poetry theory also are found in this work. So, I said that he happens to be the pioneer in the field of poetics. His treatise deals with the concept of rasa. Rasa is the aesthetic pleasure or the aesthetic experience. He deals with that rasa to explain the aesthetic objective of dramatic representation. And even though there is evidence to believe that the concept originated even earlier, oldest extant theoretical writings on this important subject are those found in Natya Shastra. The period of about 7 centuries succeeding Bharata appear to be blank in the history of Sanskrit poetics. See, Bharata's Natya Shastra, whenever we are talking about Bharata's Natya Shastra, we find a lot of informations available for aesthetics. Primarily, Bharata's Natya Shastra is intended only for the dramatic composition. But he has also dealt with the figures of speech, how to present the script for it. So he is talking about bhavas, and only the maturity of the bhava becomes rasa, he says. So he is giving lot of classification of bhavas, and then he is numbering the rasas, how many rasas are there, how to classify those rasas, how to present the emotions. And then the peculiar thing is that he has got the beautiful list of emotions. The first and the foremost work which deals with the emotions, mind. And not only that, how to present those emotions before the audience. That is the speciality of Bharata. So, in this module, what we have learned is that whenever you are talking about aesthetics, it covers poetics. Aesthetics is in broader sense. Poetics concerns directly to poetry. So the composers of poems are to necessarily be brought under certain rules and regulations. Therefore, though the poetry has been written, the norms for writing the poetry were not known to them. Of course, it was not made as a treatise. Otherwise, for the poetry, only the Pratibha, as other Alankarikas, especially Anandavardhana, whom we are going to see later, who says one should have Pratibha to compose a poem. He explains Pratibha as Nava Nava Unmesha Salini Pratibha. That means at every minute, every moment, something new is springing out from the mind of a poet. So, such things that Pratibha is always there with the poet, and poets themselves may not be aware of poetics, because the poetics and other treatises which regulate the presentation of poetry came later. But for a poet, there is no stringent rule how to write it, because Nirankushaha Kaveyaha, there is a statement. There is no anchor for Kavis. Kavihi Krantadarshi. He is the foreseer of things. He describes so many things. So, when he is describing, you cannot control him. You will have to write only like this, because it is the spontaneous flow that is coming out from his heart, from his own observation. So the descriptions and other things are just running like river from his mind. So he can't make a block of it. So it should be allowed to roll on, and in that you can find out whether there is a system behind it. So that system or the technique alone has been dealt with in the Sanskrit poetics. And there are a lot of rhetoricians, or the people who have given definitions to the poetry, and critics who have criticized that it should not be that it is defective, this is meritorious. So such analysis are also done by so many writers. So many writers have given new definitions also, and some people were advocating the rasa, the aesthetic experience. Some people were very much interested in the structure of the poem. Some, that is a riti. Some people were very much interested in the what you call Vakrokti, which is a different style, different way of composing, and Dhwani, suggestive element. Like that, they have been analyzing things, and they say only when such component is available in the poetry, then only it is a relisable poetry. That's what they said, it is the soul of poetry. So each one is claiming. And with regard to rasa, though Parda talks about rasa, which the classification of rasa which we are going to see in the next module, where everyone is advocating the rasa, and simultaneously the prominence is given to one or two rasas by the poets, and one says Shringara eva maduraha, only the erotic or the romantic alone is so much interesting, and other rasas are only subordinates which may not be that much interesting. And according to Bhavabhuti, who says eko rasa karuna eva, see, there is only one rasa. Why do you talk about so many rasas? There is only one rasa, which is karuna, that is pathetic, pathos. Perhaps for him it is the more touching emotion. So everyone is melting when they are coming across a scene of pathos or the description of pathos. So everyone has got the opinion, and each one happens to be right and correct when they discuss about it in their own way with regard to poetry. So poetics is a very broad field. So many persons have been attempting to describe, regulate, systematize the poetic features, and the later writers or the critics, they have made use of these poetic theories for the appreciation of beauty. As far as literature and the vidyas are concerned, vidyas means learning, the topics of learning. See, these vidyas are concerned, the conventional idea is to attach the origin to the divinities, because we cannot know who is actually the first one to bring out such a concept. That's why we say, even to Vedas, that Vedas are not written by men. It is the breath of the great Brahman, we say. It may be probably due to the reason that who actually brought it to the world. So in the absence of concrete evidence to the origin of anything, we always trace it to the divine origin. There may be references, but most of them are lost to us. That is the thing. The references are maybe got from the mouth of the teacher, that is oral teaching, or already documented places, or written in the form of scriptures or sculptures. So we can gather information from those things, but when all those things are not got, in the absence of those evidences, we are necessarily resorted to gods. And especially these poetics, this Alankara Shastra is traced to the origin or divine origin, and the first and the foremost author who taught to the Sishyas or the disciples happen to be Brahma. Perhaps the reason for choosing Brahma as the divinity for developing this Shastra is due to the fact that he is the creator. So, any creation is always attached to aesthetics and poetics. So, further and further, new creations are being created. So, it is a development. So, such a development aspect is always attached to Brahma. And the learning part of it, any knowledge, Vidya, is always attached to the feminine entity, Goddess Saraswati. Therefore, Goddess Saraswati was initiated by Brahma and the poetics came into vogue. So, such is the expression given by Rajasekhara in his Kavya Mimamsa, where he is mentioning about the authors of the original exponents of the discipline being taught by Brahma. Thus, in this module, we have learnt the beginnings of Sanskrit poetry and the idea of what is Alankara and different kinds of Alankara. Some samples we have seen, not with illustrations, but with the idea that of nomenclatures like Upma, Rupaka and all, and then classification as Sabdalankara and Arthalankara, and then further development like the Rasa, Vakrokti and other things which we are going to see in the next module, in the next class. Thank you.